maybe how can we bring some of that smart home automation technology into the office. So my name is Dan Cunningham. I'm the CTO of ReadyTalk by day. So ReadyTalk is a web and audio collaboration company. We do audio conferencing, video conferencing, webinars, events, that kind of stuff. And then by night, I'm a contributor and I sit on the board of a project called openHab, which stands for the Home Automation Bus, which is also known as the Eclipse Smart Home Project. So we are a worldwide global network of kind of hobbyist developers that have created this home automation system for automating more than just your home. It's used for some commercial applications as middleware for IoT stuff. So it's got a lot of applications, but this is kind of my weekend and nights hobbies. So I'm pretty passionate about home automation. I think it's pretty awesome. Does anybody here kind of have smart home stuff? Cool, excellent. Can anybody here turn on their light from their phone? Awesome. Maybe their thermostat? Cool. So I was looking around for some material for this presentation, and I came along this clip, which I thought was pretty funny. But I'll just play it real quick. It's short. Just skip a little bit to the.
Hey, the X10s are online.
Gentlemen, I am now about to send a signal from this laptop through our local ISP, racing down fiber optic cable at the speed of light to San Francisco, bouncing off a satellite in geosynchronous orbit to Lisbon, Portugal, where the data packets will be handed off to submerged transatlantic cables terminating in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and transferred across the continent via microwave relays back to our ISP and the X10 receiver attached to this. Lamp. Look at me. I'm ready on the stereo. Go for stereo.
So they actually do mention a real home automation technology in that clip called X10. Fortunately, X10 was developed in like the late 70s, so while it's a home automation protocol, it's not one that's commonly used today. But we do have tons and tons and tons of options now as consumers, right? You can walk into a Home Depot and buy a Wink. You can go into Lowe's and buy an Iris. You can, either one of those places, buy a Nest thermostat, some Z-Wave switches, et cetera, right? So lots of cool technology as consumers, lots of stuff that helps coordinate and make our homes smarter. Just out of curiosity, I saw we had some Nest users. Yes? A couple? Awesome. Do we have any Wink or SmartThings users? Cool. Is it a Wink or Wink? Awesome. How about openHab? Any openHab users? No? Oh, depressing. So lots of options. And most of us have lots of things, whether we know it or not, that are actually could be smart, right? So yeah, you can have Philips Hue bulbs, which are kind of a smart home technology, and you might have a Nest, but a lot of us have TVs that are plugged into our network. We have receivers that are plugged into the network. Sonos devices, TiVos, Apple TVs, Rokus, Wiis. I was doing some network sniffing a few weeks ago on my home network and was shocked by the amount of things that were actually broadcasting themselves on my network, right? I was actually a little panicked, like, what are all these things? And I realized it was, all the things you forget when you unbox them. They have a little Ethernet cord to connect to your Wi-Fi network for no apparent reason. And so you have all of these things already, but you have all the silent things, right? They don't really talk to each other. They don't really do anything other than, maybe update their firmware or something. And that's kind of fine and good. And there's some services like IFTTT, which allow you to kind of say, hey, if this happens, then do this. But it's even better when all of the things are connected, because then you can start doing some really, really awesome stuff. So come back to the question is, why is home automation awesome, right? I can say it to you, but I think home automation is because it's not actually about turning your lights on with your phone or your laptop like we saw in the video. That's not actually what's cool about it. Although, I will say, it is super cool to do that when you're at a party and you get to show off and it's like, hey, I can turn my lights on and off, and here's my thermostat, and look, my garage door's open, and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, you get bragging rights, but in the end of the day, it's about efficiency, it's about safety, convenience, and productivity. So, in terms of efficiency, our homes use a lot of power, right? I don't know about you, but I get scolded, or used to get scolded all the time about leaving lights on, about the air conditioning running when we weren't home, things that make our electric bill go up. It's around safety. If I leave the garage door open, it would be nice if my home or something told me about it, right? So I could shut it. It would be nice if my alarm goes off, if there's flooding in a room, for me to get notified of it. And then it's about convenience and productivity. If technology should make it easier to do something, right? It should make it more convenient. It should make us have to do less, otherwise it's not that useful. So how does home automation kind of achieve these goals? Well, it's not really about controlling with your phone. It's about how does the system use interactions, anticipate events, and react to the physical world. So what I mean by this is, rather than turning them on, you could turn the lights on with your phone when you're home, and you'd take out your phone, and you'd unlock your phone, and then you'd open the app, and then you'd navigate through the app, and then you'd find the switch and you'd flick it. But you could have walked over to the light switch and turned it on twice by that point. It's a lot better if the house would actually turn the lights on when you get home, right? If the house knows you're in the house. It would be a lot cooler if the lights went on when it got dark. It would be awesome if, when you left the house, the air conditioning wouldn't actually run. Or if you're on vacation, things wouldn't happen, right? Those are around anticipating events, anticipating I'm getting home, so do something. It's around reacting to the physical world. This is a picture of the position of the sun in the sky, which is called azimuth. And a smart home automation system will actually know if the sun's up here, lower the blinds just enough to keep the sunlight from coming in. And when it starts to set, do that all day long, right? That's about interacting with the physical world. So it's funny, we talk about smart homes or smart offices, but really what we're talking about is coordination, right? There's nothing really smart about this. There's nothing smart about, if I get home, turn on the lights. That's not intelligence, that's just a conditional thing. But intelligence is coming, right? We know that Google, acquired Nest, or had some intelligence in it. Apple's racing with Siri. Microsoft is building stuff. IBM is building Watson, and then they're all buying little tiny companies. They're all doing this kind of stuff. So intelligence will be coming to where you kind of have that Iron Man, Jarvis type of thing in your house that you can interact with, but we're not quite there yet. So we'll have to kind of make do with the smarts that we have. So kind of the basics of a smart system here is really around an idea around events, rules, and control. And breaking that down, events are the triggers, right? It's the sun going down. It's me coming home. It's an alarm going off. The rules are things that get executed because of that, right? So if the sun goes down, we'll do a bunch of stuff. And the control is, well, doing a bunch of stuff usually means reacting or interacting with the physical world. So that means turning the light on or off, turning a pump on or off, watering the lawn or not. So this is just a really simple rule from my house. And it's interesting because it's simple it looks simple, but what's interesting is the trigger here is a sunset event. And a sunset event doesn't happen at the same time every day, and it changes as the seasons go through, right? It may be 5:45 at one time, and it might be 6:30, in the summer. So my house is hooked up and wired, so it knows exactly when the sun sets every single day. And when that happens, I receive an event, the sunset event turns on, and from there I can turn all the lights on the outside and the backyard of my house. So really simple, if something happens, execute a rule, and do something to the physical world. So using my house as an example, I have lots and lots and lots of stuff coordinated and automated and smart, right? So I have 30-odd Z-Wave light switches, so almost all the lights in my house. I have a Harmony remote, which is wired in, so I can control all the TVs and receivers and the TiVos and that kind of good stuff. I have a standard ADT run-of-the-mill alarm system that's wired into that, so I know when a window's open, a door is open, when the alarm goes on or off. Super helpful to know when the window's open before you go to bed, that kind of stuff. My garage door is wired in, so yes, I can open and close it, but I can also trigger events that when the garage door is opening, do something. When it's closed, do something. I've got thermostats. I talk to my house. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I've got some tablets and phones around for some control. Sonos for music, some Z-Wave locks, and I even have our phone system wired in on a kind of a PBX there. So lots of stuff, and really cool because I have an interface on the phone and on the web browser, which gives me kind of a single pane of glass so I can control it. So some of the things that my system is programmed to do, so like when I'm a block away from my house and I'm coming home, then a rule gets executed and it will say if the alarm's on, disarm it. If it's evening time and the lights aren't on, turn on the lights, right? If we're on vacation and my alarm system has a little vacation mode, then a series of rules fires off which says, hey, don't run the HVAC during this time. Set up a schedule of lights so it looks like we're home. Notify me if certain events happen. I talk to my house like a crazy person. I find that this is the absolute best way to interact with your surroundings. It's easier than using your phone. It's easier than walking over to the wall to turn on the light. So when I come downstairs in the morning, I say, Alexa, turn the lights on, the lights go on. Or I'll say, Alexa, increase the temperature by 2, and it will increase the temperature. I turn on our music that way. I can turn on a pool that way. When I'm going to bed, I tell Alexa to, turn everything off. And everything just goes off as I'm walking up the stairs. It's really, really awesome. My garage door, as I said, notifies me when it's been open too long, which happens quite a bit. And I can then close it remotely, or I can view a camera and see who's in front of it. And then finally, my house sends me messages a lot for a lot of different events, right? One of my favorites is we were just talking about I've got an 8-year-old who likes to get up at like 5 in the morning and go watch like YouTube or play Minecraft. So it's really helpful when the light turns on to send me a little notification that he's not supposed to be doing that until 5:30, 5:45. So those kind of things, set up. But I also have other ones, which is like, hey, if the burglar alarm goes off, let me know so I can do something about it. So this is kind of geeky, but it kind of makes me feel like, I've got the Starship Enterprise and I'm in kind of total control of the ship, right? It's pretty awesome. But the name of this talk is, Where's My Smart Office? So, interesting enough, I kind of made a little bit of an assumption when I did this, saying, hey, this would be great to apply smart home automation to our office, and our office has a lot of stuff that we can automate, and we can kind of bring that same futuristic enterprise ship things to the commercial world. And I work in this building, so this is a building right behind the train station. It's brand new. It's a LEED Gold certified building, pretty high tech. So I was looking around and asking myself, okay, well, what smart kind of office technology do we have that we can kind of utilize? And I came up with this. We have access card keys for all employees. And this is a motion detecting light switch in the men's bathroom, which always turns off at the absolute worst time. I'm sure there's one in the women's bathroom, but I haven't checked. So it was kind of depressing, like, wow, that's kind of terrible. So I started doing some more work on it. I read some reports and some, even read like some force research data or whatever. And why is the office so behind? Why isn't this stuff, why don't we have the same options? And it's probably not a huge surprise, right? But offices have a lot of the same needs as homes. In fact, maybe more so. I mean, when we're talking about efficiency, man, does our building use a lot of energy. Man, the lights are always on, monitors are always on. Like, you walk by at like 8 o'clock at night and it's like a Christmas tree, right? Our bathroom motion sensor, it tries really hard, but it doesn't ever seem to turn off except, like I said, at the absolute wrong time. So amazing amount of efficiency to be gained there. Obviously security, you know, my building, we all have access cards and security cameras, and you know, there's a use there for security, but it also, hey, there's a way where the building knows when you're there or not. How can we utilize that stuff? But we don't kind of have access to it. And then productivity, right? I mean, most of us in business talk about productivity until we're ready to throw up, right? It's like, how can we be more productive? How can we have better meetings? How can we do more with less? So if we have all of these same reasons, why are we so behind? And I mean, a big part of this is cost, right? When you're building a huge building, commercial builders build what they need to do, and they build only what they need to do. It's very expensive to put this stuff in. It requires a lot of forethought, and unless you have a customer who specifically says, I want this in the building that you're building for me, it's probably not going to be put in. Retrofits are also very expensive. Totally different building codes for commercial properties. So it's really hard to go back into those systems. The other thing is buildings are massive, right? There's just lots of complexity. There's lots of stuff going on. It's not super easy. If you put it in one place, you have to do it for everybody. And then the last thing is this is interesting. I was talking to lighting manufacturer, a big commercial lighting manufacturer at South by Southwest last year. And they say he has said something like they supply like 30 or 40% of the US lighting systems. He said, oh yeah, we're totally doing this. We're building these, you know, all of the light bulbs will have mesh radio network, and they're going to talk to each other, and they're going to come up to our cloud so we can do energy monitoring. And it's like, that's awesome. So, you know, how do developers plug into that? And he's like, oh no, this is a system we're going to sell, and there's not going to be really access to it. It's just so we can help buildings monitor, you know, their costs. And I was just like, oh, that's so depressing. But the potential is huge. And as a hobbyist developer, right? I'm a tinkerer. I like doing this kind of stuff. But you can't really, as a tenant, switch out these things like you can in your house, right? You can't just go in and, you know, my facilities manager would be pissed if I went in and replaced all the light switches with a Z-Wave. Not to mention I'm probably breaking a dozen Denver city codes. So these things can't be switched out by hobbyists like me and hopefully you. So what can we do? Well, I was going to give you two examples. First, I'm going to do an example of something we did at my company, ReadyTalk, which doesn't do anything in smart home automation spaces, but we had a similar problem when we were talking about one of our products, and so we actually took a playbook from some smart home automation tech and shoved it into one of our products, and we actually have this out in the marketplace, so that's cool. The second thing I'm going to show you, which is super geeky, which is the developer part of the developer track, is I will show you a preview release of openHab 2, which is our second generation platform for this kind of stuff, and we'll go ahead up and set up a system, add a few off-the-shelf consumer electronics to it, and then wire in maybe one or two things you guys are used to using in your office. So we'll kind of do a big demo of that. That will take some time, but hopefully you guys will get something out of it. So first thing I wanted to talk about was we do video conferencing, right? A lot of people do video conferencing. We started a new project using, basically it's a WebRTC based video project called FoxDen. And it's really, really cool, and it's really easy to use, and we're really trying to tackle some of the issues where video meetings are just really hard to get going. And we were looking at this and we were like, you know, we could have the best technology in the world, but it still peeves us that when you go into a conference room and try to set one of these up, the conference room is just dumb. It doesn't know anything about you. We fumble for remotes. You have to get a keyboard. It's super tough. So we were like, okay, room-based video meetings are hard. They kind of fail most of the time, right? What can we do about that? And so whenever we have a hard problem like that, my go-to solution is hackathons. So we like to do hackathons at ReadyTalk. This is actually a picture of one of our war rooms here. I don't know what project they were working on, but Hackathons are fun. So we had a couple of them based on some topics. So the first one we did was robotics, and what you're looking at is a Kubi. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Kubis, but they're little like Bluetooth robotic things you can stick an iPad in, and people can remote control them. So you can have faces all around the conference room, and remote participants can kind of look at each other. And it was fun, but didn't really amount to anything. But we did draw a really awesome smiley face on this guy. Second one was voice. This was fun. So we started playing around with the Google voice APIs. We started playing around with Siri, and we played around with the Alexa or the Amazon Echo. That actually was pretty cool. We took some stuff out of that we'll probably use in later products, but at the end of the day, it didn't really help us of like, why is this stuff kind of so dumb? And then we started to play with beacons. And so beacons is something that's, so basically it's, Bluetooth devices knowing when they're in proximity to other Bluetooth devices. So in my house, I have on this side here, that's the Apple's iBeacon moniker. What you're looking in the middle are a device called an Estimo. It was a Kickstarter project. And on the right, Google is pushing Eddystone pretty hard. But they're all basically the same thing. It's the Bluetooth broadcasting. So beacons are used in home automation a lot. Like I've got one in my office, so when I walk in my office, the house knows exactly what room I'm in. So we started playing with this, and we actually started to stumble on something. It's like, if the conference room knows you're in it, like it actually knows you're right in it, what could we do? What would that enable us? And not only that, but these are really inexpensive devices. What if we put one in every conference room? Like all of a sudden you could be in one conference room and another conference room. How could that help communications? How could that help our product? And what we ended up doing was taking a room-based video product that we had come up with, tied it together with some Bluetooth technology, and kind of tied it in our mobile app. So now when you walk into one of our conference rooms or one of our customers' conference rooms, with a video meeting, you can walk in and the device and you know that you're in the same room, and you can do really cool things. Like if you have our app here, you can swipe it and it will automatically go onto the screen in the room that you're in. I was thinking about bringing in a demo, but since this is around smart home automation, I didn't want to bring in the whole thing. So instead, we have a little promo video. So I'm not trying to plug the product, but I didn't have anything else to kind of show it off. It's only a minute long. So, but the important part is you're going to see, this is Brittany, she works in marketing. You're going to see her go into a conference room holding a video, watching a video conference on her phone. You're going to see her swipe it, and it's all of a sudden going to move on to the TV. And this is an actual real feature. And the reason that we can do this is because when she walks in using proximity, we know which screen, when she flicks it, it's supposed to go to. And what the video doesn't show is she can actually flick it back, put it back on her phone, walk into a huddle room, and flip it back onto another television. So I'll just play this real quick, and then we'll move on.
It's a new world. A world that feels small, but is really more remote than ever. So how can we all really connect? Because connecting isn't about pixels, bits, or screen sizes. It's about creating technology that lets us connect everyone, face to face. It's not about geography. It's about connecting people. Welcome to Foxton.
So I'll pause it there. But, so anyways, that's laughing over there, but that was our little promo video we did for it. But anyways, so that was taking some smart home technology and sticking it into a product that we put out, and that's been in the market for a few months now. So that's great, but we've talked a lot about home automation. So how do we bring the office home? How do we bring some of this tech into the office? Like, what can you walk away from today and actually start doing this? So I'm going to give you this is a developer track, so I'm going to give you a little look at upcoming our 2.0 platform for openHab. And like I said, this is a home automation, a smart home technology, but it's used for commercial applications, and it's also used as middleware. So it's a open source vendor and technology agnostic system that's built what we call on top of the Eclipse Smart Home Framework, which is kind of a sister project to ours. They're both same developers and everything. It is a Java OSGI stack, but don't let that scare you. It was picked for a reason, for the modularity, because we had lots of modules. Our target hardware platform has always been the Raspberry Pi, so we started with the 1 and the 2. Now it's the 3 that's our kind of target platform. It's cross-platform, so it runs on Linux and Windows and Mac. And then we have lots of distribution options. So you can run it in a Docker container, we have Debian packages, you can run it on a Synology NAS, and then we have just basically zip notebooks. So this is a little diagram. So basically we have the Eclipse Smart Home extensions. Extensions and add-ons are basically the same thing. They're just things that talk to the physical world, right? So if I want to talk to a light, I have an add-on or extension. So we have a layer of extensions, then talk to our frameworks, and then it's all wrapped up in Apache Craft, which is a OSGI wrapper or container. All right, and there are actually quite a few commercial companies that have adopted this platform. Quivicom is a Dutch telecom, so the big German telecom, uses openHab as their smart home automation hub, so they ship it under the Quivicom name. This is Process. They're a division of the Bosch, which is the big German, they make dishwashers and fuel injectors, and they're kind of like a little machine. And they use it as middleware for the IoT space. And then, of course, openHab, we use the Eclipse Smart Home Framework as well. So as of today, we're somewhere around the 200 add-on mark. So that's pretty cool, because an add-on is a full module to talk to something. So we have a module for the Philips Hues, for Sonos, for you name it. Someone's written quite a bit of code to connect to it and control it. So between the specific add-ons, and then we have generic ones like HTTP add-ons, right, which you can talk to pretty much anything that has a REST API. You can almost talk to everything. The possibilities are a little mind-boggling. So what I'm going to give you a demo of is our openHab 2 beta. So we're going to release the 4th beta probably in about a week or 2. We're in beta 3. This is we're going to be running a nightly version of it. And before I do that, I just really quickly want to touch around some basics. So in our world, we see the physical world as things, and we call them things. So a thing is a light bulb. A thing is a hub. And then how we talk to those things, like a thing may have, let's see, what's a good example? A thermostat. A thermostat is a thing. But you don't turn a thermostat on or off. A thermostat has lots of stuff, right? You can turn the heat point, the set point, the fan. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do to the thing. We call those channels. And then how we interact with those channels is through items. So items, channels, things. So we'll mostly talk about things in items, since we kind of talk about things as in the real world, and items are how we're going to interact with them. So items and things are really cool. And then we'll talk about rules, which is the smart part of the system, and look a little bit at our REST API. So I was thinking about what could we do to do a real simple demo of some stuff that you might have in the office or could use in the office. Who uses Jenkins for build stuff? Yeah, 2 people, 3 people. So most companies use Jenkins for their build and deploy of software, right? We use it, a lot of companies use it. Anybody know what a Flick is? Oh, good. I didn't expect anybody to. This was a Kickstarter project. It's a little battery-powered Bluetooth button. So I click this button, and you can program it to do to turn on or off a bunch of things. They have tons of integrations, but one of the simplest ones is make an HTTP recall. So go hit a website. So I've got this kind of program to hit our instance, and then I brought along Philips Hue bulb. Does anybody use the Philips Hue? Great, so you know that. So I've got a little Hue and a little hub here. So we're going to do We're gonna wire all this up live. So I've done this like 3 times. It went really well 2 times. So, you know, what could go wrong on a C network here? But we're gonna give this a go. So let's get this. All right, so when you launch our web interface for the first time, you get to see this. And most of these are UIs to interact with the system. The basic UI is the one most users use. We have a REST API, which we'll look at in a minute. But we initially configured the system using this thing called Paper UI, which is new in our system. And the first thing you see is an inbox, and it's just like your email inbox. If you have lots of stuff on your network, lots of stuff is going to show up in the inbox. It's not stuff you can use yet, but it's just stuff that our system, openHab, when it's on your network, goes, hey, I see all these things on your network. Do you want to add any of them to the system? Right now it sees the Philips Hue hub, but I haven't added yet. So I'm going to go ahead and add this, which is this little white device here. So I'm going to go ahead and click this, and it's going to say, what do you want to name it? And we'll just say it's that. And so I've added it. And once I've added it, it's actually now going to search for light bulbs that are connected to it. And we can see here that, oh, sorry, I have to push the little authorization button. Let's try this again. Come on, go. Oh, there it goes. Just added it. And it will add a couple light bulbs. Any day now. There it goes. So this is, this one has 3 bulbs connected. I just brought 1. So now we have 3 things. So we're going to add a thing. We're going to add this bulb to our system. Sweet. We now have added the bulb. So if I go here to things, all right, we have a hue bridge and a huge light. Wonderful. But at this point, it really doesn't do anything. And I'm working in an advanced mode. When it's in simple mode, adding that would actually add the buttons and everything else. You could just start using it, but we're going to go through the step manually. Okay, now that I've got this added, that's great, but now I want to actually control that bulb. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see channels. And we have 2 basic channels, but we also have some advanced channels. So this bulb can do 4 things, right? You can change the color, the temperature. It's got some alert thing and a color loop for like demos or whatnot. But what we care about most is the color. This lets us set the HSB values or turn it on and off or whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and add this channel. And it's going to say, go ahead and add it to an item. We don't have any items, so we're going to create one. So we're going to call this color. I'm going to go ahead and link that. When I go to items, there's our color. I've also created, for sake of time here, I've created another item which is going to trigger a Jenkins build later, so that's there. But so now that we have a color, we have a little test UI here, and hopefully, if I turn on the brightness here, is this light on? Demos. Well, that's not good. I found the bulbs. It says it's on. Shoot. Let's look at this items real quick. No, it's offline. Oh no. Is there an on and off switch on this? Or did I break the bulb in transit? Bad, bad, bad. Hold on. Oh. Demo gods. God. All right. So, well, that's booting up. And it'll take it a minute to connect with the bridge here. Let's continue on. All right. So we have a light bulb. Now what I want to do is I want to connect the switch so we can do something. And the first thing we'll do is we'll obviously be able to turn the switch. We'll turn the light bulb on. So let's create a new thing, or a new item, I should say. We're going to call this flick, the name of the button. And we're going to say it's a switch. And we have lots of item types, and these help build UI. So if you wanted a dimmer, you can make it a dimmer. We have color options and that kind of stuff. So we can go ahead and add a switch. And I pre-programmed this thing to send an HTTP command and update an item called flick. And this is a great time to show off very quickly our REST API. So we have a Swagger-based interface for our API. I don't know if you're familiar with Swagger, but it's pretty cool. And you can see really quickly here. I will get our items, and we store everything here, and you can get it as a simple REST request. So I have this thing called flick. My thing will send a request to that and update that, and right now it's got a state of null, but we'll program it so we'll turn it on or off. Pretty simple, right? So I'm going to go ahead, and if the demo gods are nice to me, you'll see, so I click the button, and you can see in the log it actually updated it, but so far that's totally not useful. So how do we make that useful? Well, that's where rules come into play. So we're going to add a rule. One new rule. So this is new for openHab 2, which is this UI-based rule system. I'm going to call this flick trigger. And we're going to say, so rules have a trigger, what executes them. A condition, I should only execute this rule if something is true or false or whatever. And it has the actual action, which is for the meat and potatoes of it. So we're going to go to anytime that this thing is updated, we're going to select our little flick item. And then I'm going to actually create two of them. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to do this real quick. So I'm going to create one that says, hey, anytime this flick button is equal to on, we're going to make this light, so we're going to post a command to another item. So we're going to make color. And then I wrote down some color values here. I want to make it blue. So that's blue in HSB. We'll have a drop-down box for this later, but right now you just have to enter it manually. Okay? So anytime I click this, it's going to turn that light on, hopefully. Okay. I'm going to add one more. I'm just going to make it so we can turn the light off. Oh, I have the cap locks key on. That's okay. So anytime it gets updated, I'll just do this really quickly. We'll say flick. We'll say the condition is item state. And then, let's just say it's not equal. Well, we'll say it is equal to off. Keep this easy. Lots of stuff you can do. Then go ahead, turn our color, our item called color, probably badly named, but to off. All right, demo gods. So let's try turning it off. So I'm going to double click this for off. Woohoo! So there. So now we have an action, updated something, executed a rule.